Morning.
Morning, HP. Morning, Katie. Morning,
Hi,
Jim.
guys. Who else is coming? Katie, is this it? She can hear me.
There's quite a few presentations, so I imagine there's a couple of other people.
I don't see any presentations.
Oh, Katie, we can't hear you. Lost her. Hmm.
Sorry, guys, I got kicked out. The internet's great over here.
Okay, perfect. Do we have Al today or just,
No,
Are
Al's
you
at his
taking
Good
care of
Roads
everything?
meeting. It's
I'm
just
sorry?
me. Al's at his Good Roads meeting.
oh, okay, right. All right, then it's 9:01. We can go ahead and start the meeting. Call it to order. Review of our agenda. Everybody's got a copy. And any conflict of interest? Seeing
I
none.
can move the agenda.
Okay, well, I don't know. Hang on. I didn't see that, but okay, go ahead, move it. Jim, you're gonna second it. And we're gonna move on to adoption of previous minutes. I only had the one thing, which is number 10. And I think we started taking down the building, the old Public Works building.
I can second
no.
it, the agenda, or the previous minutes.
Okay. Haven't done a meeting in a while, apparently. Okay,
And Jim's
I'll second
moving.
it.
Jim's moving and I'm seconding.
Jim's moving it. Yep, go ahead. All right, so Katie, is there a report on that one? On the Public Works building? Yeah, eh?
No, it's just an update that it's down. The part that we were doing ourselves is down and completed. I'm happy with what the work that was done. They did a
Yep.
good job. They did it quickly. Thank you to JI for renting us the machine to be able to do that work. And the tender for the additional remaining building will go out on Friday. And we do have interested contractors this time, so we should have a fairly competitive bid, we're hoping.
It's good news. Does anybody else have anything from previous minutes?
No.
Okay. All right. We don't have a public presentation, so we'll move on to 7.1, the report from April. You were away, Katie, and at that point, Jim had said he didn't want to go to the meeting because he thought it was an in council meeting or at the council meeting, council chambers. So I had shut down the meeting because I felt that there was only going to be me and the mayor there. So because you were away, I thought, well, we'll wait till you're here. There's no sense you chiming in while you were on vacation. So appreciate the thought that you would do that for us, but it wasn't necessary. So we're going to go ahead and go through this list. Does anybody have anything to bring up from this list?
I don't have anything to bring up, just the fact that it was a very busy month, and kudos to Public Works for all the things they accomplished in the month of April.
Okay.
And I do
Jim,
like
do
the
you have
idea. I do like the idea of buying the recycler for 2023. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I pipe in on that too. I went online, and researched them. The recycler and the hot box. There's now I don't know what size we're going to go. I mean, are we going to go down this generator rabbit hole same way with a recycler? Because there's different sizes, but they are really advantageous. Would be for public works, for potholes. As far as patching, do we have a roller, Katie?
We do have equipment that we use for the patching that would work with the hot box and the recycler options. Al has done extensive research on this. He's reached out to Beamish as well, just to get a comparison on what that would look like for us. And Dennis's email back to us is pretty clear that it would be definitely a savings to the municipality within our operational, because he's telling us that he wouldn't be surprised if it can get up to $400 a load, so a drop. So with all of the asphalt that we'll be saving from Woodward and from other jobs that we do, we can certainly recycle it and use it for all of our, and we do a lot of patching. We have a lot of roads that are in really poor condition. So we're still doing patching. It's a daily job for us right now. So this would go a long way.
There's also the benefit of it being able to utilize it right in the middle of the winter
Yes,
when you can't get the coal patch from Beamish.
exactly.
So I think it's a pretty good idea. I just, I like it.
So we'll move, if the committee is okay with that, we'll move it to the budget committee, along with all of the quotes and the recommendation from the Public Works, Al and Bernie, on what size they're recommending.
Great.
Yeah, I can move that. I think I already have from the May report.
I'll second it.
We have to go down to 7.2. I forgot. I thought I was running the meeting again. Sorry. 7.1. We were just going over. We were going over last. I guess it was the. Yeah, to provide information. 7.2. We're going into. We have moved and seconded. Now we moved by Mayor Hagman and second by Jim Dunbar. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. I still like to run the meeting if I can. So we'll move that. We'll move it ahead to the budget deliberations, right? Okay, next is infrastructure. We had complaints in April. We had looks like a total of 6. Have we dealt with those complaints, Katie?
They've all been dealt with.
Okay.
Some maybe not to the full satisfaction, but they've been dealt with. As per our policy.
That was my next question. Does anybody else have that? Anything on that? Seeing nothing. Gravel pit, there was no information on that, Katie?
So the gravel pit, I think all of council received an email a couple of weeks ago with regard to the bank swallows at the gravel pit. We have plans in place for that operation. We do have the area marked off where we don't remove sand. Part of our issue is that some of the employees, when they're out removing the sand, they're forgetting at the end of the shift that they need to pull down the bank so that we don't have the issue. So we did have a conversation with M&R, and they reiterated that that is the best practice, to pull down the bank when you're done. We have put additional barricades around the area where they are nesting currently. So we won't be removing any more sand from the pit until September. Not the ideal time of the year to do that because it's going to be quite wet and not great for storage, but that's what we will do. Moving forward, we'll ensure that all of the employees that are working in the pit are pulling down the banks when completed, and we'll do the operation prior to the nesting time, so prior to May.
So Katie, on that then, was the issue that they were not pulling down the banks and then the swallows are getting in there right away? Is
Correct.
that- So, but they do have an area where they've been nesting forever, right?
Correct. Yeah, and we don't
And
touch
we've
that
had
area.
it, I think it was fenced or something at one point.
Yeah.
Do they leave in the winter? Can we not deal with it in the fall or something? Or do we're just gonna leave that as a natural habitat forever?
we're leaving that as a natural habitat because they have been continually there. So we're taking the best practice from the MNR.
Perfect. Does anybody else have anything on that one? I received that email too. I didn't get back to the person because I thought that we were dealing with that as far as fencing and so on. And we did have an area. I wasn't aware that they were spreading out. So, okay, well, I'm glad to hear that we're dealing with it.
When was that email sent out, HP? I didn't receive that.
No, I'd have to look, Jim, but I think it was a couple weeks back. And it was just from an individual that I didn't recognize, but. So
Possibly
you'll
the
have
week
to-
of the 16th, May 16th, I think, in that week.
Yeah. Could be. Okay. We'll move on to 7.5, the project list. Does anybody have anything on that? I mean, I see a lot of stuff going on and anything, oh, go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I just got a couple of questions. Once this your laptop pipes up, I don't know what happened to the list. There we go. The water project, if I could bring that up, come on. Water project, Katie, down there in the Park and Recreation projects, boardwalk platform, the tender is out. It states closing May 20th, you know, that's come and gone. But I see it says the H&C verifying the current electrical configurations. Is that work for the electrical configuration? Is that tendered out or was that given to H&C?
So what we did was we initially had a site meeting with the contractors that were interested in bidding on the project. They all were pulling back quite hard around the electrical. It is a dog's breakfast in that area. And if you look at the town hall right now, it's flagged where a lot of the wires are. So H&C had originally done some of the work there and have continually done the maintenance work on that. So what was decided with our engineers is we would go back to H&C, pull out the electrical from the tender and give it to H&C based on the fact that H&C is fully aware of what's going on there. They have the resources to do the work and they've always done work for the municipality. So it fits within our procurement policy as well. Going out to another contractor would be lengthy and very, very expensive because they're not aware of where all of the connections are. So H&C is able to do that work for us. And that was the reason that Beamish and JI did bid. They weren't going to bid on the project with that electrical piece in there.
Okay, that's fine. Now the Matt Ninda docks and landing towards the end, tender for docks closed, Matt preparing schematics for repairs. Of the 8x8 replacement. Which 8x8 replacement are we talking about? A dock or down at the actual landing?
So at the landing, there's some issues with that boardwalk that goes out where the docks would be connecting. So we've ordered the wood. We have that now. It's I think it's at the marina being stored there. And the docks are all up on shore, as you can see. And we're going to, now that we have the schematics for them, we're going to replace some of the boards that need to be replaced, make sure that the pontoons are all in good shape before we haul them up to the landing and place them. Right now, we're ready. We're just waiting for the MNR, which has been very slow at getting back to us with the approvals for the additional docks. We have letters of support as well from Mississauga First Nation for the project. They're quite happy to see it move forward, as well as the Cottage Association. So I have updated the association where we're sitting and what we're waiting on.
And could you explain to me what Pine-Jar is? Pine-Jar, is that a group or a consultation? It's in the tennis court reconstruction. Pine-Jar investigations in May. What is Pine-Jar?
Pine-Jar. I'm not sure.
Pionjar.
I was going to ask the same question.
I'm wondering if that's a typo.
Would that be pioneer?
I'm thinking maybe that's what it is, probably looking at the pricing. So I know that that has been done, and I know we're just waiting on the schematics from Tyler from Telic Engineering to provide us with those. So I'm thinking that's a typo and it's actually Pioneer.
Okay, speaking of investigations, the Berthelot Street GPR investigations.
So that's along with the water treatment plant and the pipe, the main pipe that goes up through Berthelot to the water treatment plant. So a lot of the investigation that was done to get us to where we are right now was done by 360. It's a company out of Sudbury. So they did all of the camera inspections. We did receive the invoice for that, which was $20,000 for the days that they were at Woodward to complete that work.
Wow. And I guess my last one here is the Haynes and Hopkins sanitary sewer. What the hell is going on over there?
Yeah, so over there, the issue is the railway. So they did not approve the initial process that went in, and that took a year to get back. So we reached out to another municipality that had done a similar job. We submitted a plan that's very similar to what they have done, and Chris Kirby was not hearing back from them. So I sent them a very, I don't want to say stern email, but I sent them an email basically saying
letter
that you know, mayor and council is very concerned with this project. Infrastructure failure in this area would not only affect residents on either side of the railway, but potentially the railway could fail. Also the MTO, MTO would be involved because it's a Trans-Canada Highway. So would the MOE, because we could possibly have spills and contamination, and this is not going to look good for the railway because we're going to be pointing the finger back at you. I immediately received a phone call and a response was given to Chris Kirby. So they fast-tracked it to their engineering process. So today I'm to call them back and find out where we're at now. So I'm hoping by the end of this week, we have some traction here with the railway, but the issue's not been with Telic, it's been with the railway getting back to us.
Okay. Do you recall Alma Street when we had the remediators in there and we had a certain amount of money that we had to spend and we couldn't do it, we were held up. So it was use it or lose it, and we tried to recoup. Are we in any situation there for this Haynes and Hawkins sanitary sewer?
No, the money that we have set aside for that is our OSIF money, and that's continually provided each year from the province, and they're aware of the issues that we're having, and there's no issue as long as we continue to report as to why it hasn't commenced. But basically it's not something that's tied specifically to one project. That money is given to us, and as long as we use it for water, wastewater, we're fine. So it's not a funding envelope that we had to apply for a grant. This is just something that's automatically given to the municipality.
Do you feel this project is going to get underway this year?
I really hope it will. We really hope that. We don't want to see a failure, and we're already seeing the pavement give away in the middle. At the Hawkins Street intersection, you can see that we're always going back there to patch that hole because it's failing from underneath.
Okay, well, fingers crossed we get something by the end of the week, right? And then the process is to send out the tender, right?
Then we still have to do the tender.
Yeah, so it's gonna take a while. It'll probably be August before anything starts. If
Yeah,
we're
we were
lucky.
really hoping to do that in the summer to avoid the busy intersection for the school, but I don't think we're gonna get around that now.
Well, do we have,
Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
just in case it does, is pushed out further, do we have some sort of, I don't know, the town contingency, you know, because you're going to have the schools back in there, you know, and redirecting traffic, and we're going to be whipped, you know, over this year inconvenience. But I mean, I understand That's the price of doing business, but we do have some sort of something ready to roll out if, we have to go tomorrow per se.
We've been working on that rollout since we started the project a year ago. So we've actually fine-tuned it a couple of times. So we're ready to go for whatever happens. We're ready to go with a plan for the summer, and then we're ready to go if it happens to go into the fall, which I think it will regardless, whether we're starting in the fall or we're wrapping it up in the fall, it's still going to happen. It's still going to be an inconvenience to that area and to the businesses in that area.
Yeah.
Do we have any type of timeline on that, Katie? Any idea how long it will take?
No, not until we get the bids in and see what the contractors have to tell us.
Okay. I thought maybe Tulla could tell us up front, it's a 1 month job or whatever.
I'm thinking right now we're looking at a 2-month job. But
Yeah.
again, it'll depend on the time of year, and there's different variables.
Oh, well, yeah. Because,
Go ahead, Jim.
yeah, because I believe, Katie, I saw as an alternative, some sort of, I don't know if it was the word bedrock, but I mean, a bore, without having to completely remove the rails, and I mean, is that still a possible alternative from having to dig up the track?
That is a possible alternative, yes. It's all dependent right now on the railway and what they want us to do for the integrity of the tracks.
Well, they're going by here through town like 5 miles an hour.
Mhm.
Or out my way anyway, so we know, I don't think the integrity of the tracks are all that well.
Excuse me. I guess it's a wait and see on that one. All right, keep us posted. We'll move on to the Sandy dump. We have a report from the treasurer, I believe, and how much a Sandy dump made in a year. It looks like it's used pretty consistently right through till, this December, it starts peters out, but yeah.
We close it down in the winter, so it's not operational.
Yeah, but it goes down to $72 where, we're averaging 400, 360, so it's
And it was down a number of weeks last year too. We had
Yeah.
issues, so hopefully this year, touch wood, we don't have any issues with it and we're fully operational, and we'll see what it's actually bringing in.
okay. Jim,
Yeah,
Go ahead.
just to maybe ask, we had a two-system way of paying. Was it tap and insert? And we lost one of those last year, did we not? Katie, remember one of the alternatives? And
We
people
lost
did
both,
not know.
actually.
Yeah, okay, and people didn't know, even when we were down to one. Are they both up and running right now?
Currently they are, yes.
And I guess it would be budget time to look at an increase if we were talking about a small increase over there.
So we would refer back to our fees policy that was passed by council through the KPMG recommendations, and we would bring back to council, this is the recommendation from this policy of the increases. And if you wish at that time to increase it more or not at all, that would be up to council. But yes, it would be during budget time.
But with this total, this 4,184, we have to pay the company in American funds.
Correct.
And with that being taken off, I would really like to know what the actual amount that actually is putting in the town coffers. Because I think we could do a little bit better there. I think we're paying most of the money out to the company, and it's almost a free service.
It's better than it was because it was a free service, but we can certainly look at that. But again, we were down last year, so last year it's not really going to be a great comparison.
No, I know the COVID, no traveling. Yeah, I understand. Okay, but I mean, just put that on your,
Yeah, I've
radar.
made myself a note to get that for you.
Well, I have a question on that then, Katie. Does is this machine timed out in any way, or is this just as long as that lid is open, it stays running forever? Like, what's stopping two people from pulling up side by side? One guy pays and they both don't.
Well, I think only one hose can fit in, but you're meaning like if they pull it out and they leave.
Pull it out, next guy just
There
drops
is
it.
the potential for that. We do have it on our check that we check it all the time. Whenever somebody's going by, it's just automatically we go in because we have, last year we did see it propped open with a rock.
Yeah,
So we have to continually watch it. Having the travel information center open and having employees there is going to help.
All right, go ahead, Jim.
yeah, I think along your line, HP, or your thinking, yeah, to me, that would be something that individuals around the area here would be thinking about doing. I don't think that the average Joe coming from, Timmins or Wawa, I don't think they would get onto that, but it still is a local possibility, what you're saying. So,
Okay. Well, thanks for the report. I appreciate that. We'll move on to 8.1 Crescent Engineering. It's to do with the groundwater, surface water, I guess at the landfill.
Yeah,
How we
this was a
doing there,
project-
Katie?
Yeah, this was a project that was scheduled for last year and didn't get completed either. Based on permits from the MOE. So we're still awaiting those permits. They're doing a final review. I think that's noted in his email. So as soon as we have that, we'll be ready to go with that. And this will all tie into the expansion as well. It'll be part of the expansion.
Right. Perfect. Does anybody have any questions on that one? Do we have any addendum or new business?
I have a couple of things I'd like to bring up if I can.
Sure.
We're looking in 2021 budget, I believe Mark put forward a recommendation from the KPMG report with regard to our processes. And one of the things identified was a fuel card lock system for Public Works so that we could better maintain it. Because right now, I don't think I have one here. I think I brought them to town hall yesterday. Right now, they just fill out a sheet in pen that, took this much gas for this truck. So we bill it to the Public Works or we bill it to the fire department or whatever. That paper, then I have to take that to town hall and then Kim has to break it all down. So it's quite labor intensive. And when you have something that comprehensive, errors are occurring, whether you really try hard not to, at one end or the other, there's errors occurring. So a card lock system would enable us to know exactly who's taking what, how much are they taking, and it would be a better tracking. And so the original price that I think Mark had was over $100,000. I was able to speak with one of, because we have connections through Norpro in the Sioux. They're also tied now with Major Brothers. So our contact there provided us with a quote. He came and took a look at it and his quote was substantially less. So we're looking at a $12,000 purchase.
Sounds more like it.
For the GIR equipment, new pumps for the tanks that we have in the amount of $3,900, tank painting because they do need to be upgraded or painted as per the regulations, and then of course mileage. So we're looking at roughly $15,000 for the whole project. We do have money in reserves. I can put together a report for the next meeting, but I'm thinking that we should probably bite the bullet on this one and move forward. I think over time, this is going to alleviate a lot of headaches on the end of the Treasury Department. Also, it will help understand what's happening with our fuel and have a better handle on our fuel management. As identified by KPMG.
Excuse me. Okay. Katie, on the fuel tanks, do they not belong to McDougall?
They do.
I thought that So they should be paying them.
Not according to our contract, which I've read through several times to try to find some loopholes in. No, we're responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of the tanks. When we need new tanks, they'll supply new tanks. So I am trying to get a hold of someone from, I have spoken to one person at McDougall who's supposed to put me in touch with the contract administrator to see where we're at, because this contract was written up in 2010 and it automatically renews if you don't provide appropriate notice. So there's a few things with this that I'd like to look at before we allow the painting of the tanks. What's the best idea for us? What's the best pathway forward for us? Do we want to continue with McDougall Fuels, or do we want to outright buy tanks, which is going to be very expensive, but then we can be part of the fuel consortium with the LAS, so we can do group buying, and it may be substantially cheaper for us rather than just getting our fuel from McDougall. So there may be some different angles on this we can look at, maybe negotiate a better contract with McDougall Fuels in order to keep the tanks and keep our service with them. So I'm working on that. So it'll be all part of the report for the next meeting.
Okay, because as I recall, pardon me, when those tanks got put in, McDougall took away our old tanks and they went missing. We didn't get anything out of that. I was almost positive that they used to repaint the tanks. So if it's not in the contract, I guess we're on our own. But the other thing I was thinking about when you brought up the fact that people have to sign paperwork right now and fill in how many liters they took and so on. There could be a point where, just out of error, maybe a person could fill up and forget to even fill out the sheet. They're in a hurry, whatever, it's cold out, yada, yada. So, I mean, this card lock, I think, is a no-brainer, especially at 15K over 100K, So that's my thoughts on it. Jim, you had something?
Yeah, just back pertaining to the card lock. I agree with you. It's probably a great idea, and it's going to alleviate a lot of pain in the ass, small paperwork, and plus, but where I want to go is the actual function. So this card lock situation or potential, Katie, is it'll timestamp when withdrawal is done, and how does it register the amount?
So the system is all tied in. I had pictures of it as well that I'll put in the report, but it's tied into the pump. So, and then it's a cloud-based system. So it goes into the cloud and is fed over to the system. So it's very similar to our eScribe program. It kind of looks like that, the screen a little bit, but it's going to plug in. We'll program it for each vehicle, and each vehicle will have a code.
Okay, so like if Katie Scott went there and Jim Dunbar went there and you went at 10 o'clock and I went at 1 a.m. in the morning, it still would register whether it was 10 liters for me and 20 liters for you?
Yes.
Like on your
yeah.
times? Okay, that's fine. That's good.
Yes, Mayor Hagman.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Katie, M&R has a similar system, and it is pretty slick as far as the working arrangements for it. And it also accounts for slippage. So I would wholly endorse this, especially at the new rate.
Yeah, and I don't want to accuse anybody of anything, but it will be a better way for us to handle it, because a lot of people have our keys. The entire fire department has our keys.
You know what the price of gas is right now.
And that's what I'm concerned about. Gas is liquid gold right now. So I want to know who's taking what when.
Yeah. And that's fair enough. I think that's a good idea.
So you're going to have more information for the next meeting, Katie, and then we'll pass it on to council?
Yeah.
Or the budget committee or wherever we have to put it to?
Yeah.
Okay. You said you had a second item, Katie?
So the fuel, In 2018, we purchased a new plow truck from a company in Sault Ste. Marie, and we had issues because they didn't deliver on time. We went with the higher bidder. I don't know if you recall this, but we went with the higher bid because they were going to provide the truck much quicker. So that's why we went with that company. They ended up not delivering on time. The truck was out of its CVOR. We couldn't put it on the road, so we had to rent a vehicle from Beamish. When we spoke with the company, we advised them, we have to, well, now because of this delay, we're going to have to rent a vehicle. Are you going to cover that? They gave a verbal that, yeah, well, whatever the expenses are, we'll cover. When we submitted that bill, they refused to pay it. So we did bring them to small claims court. And because of COVID and all of these delays, we now have a trial date, which is June 23rd. So I will be testifying on June 23rd with regard to this matter. So this is just
Is this in the Sioux, Katie?
well, it'll be through Zoom.
Okay.
Well, it's good you stay on top of it. I mean, I think that cost us a few bucks, eh?
It
How much
over
was that?
Over $8,000, almost $10,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And then the
Is
other
anybody else?
matter, oh, I had a couple, sorry.
Okay,
The
yeah, go ahead.
The other was our CVOR. So now that I'm here a little bit more, I'm seeing things a little bit more clearly and flushing out some of the processes that need to happen. I'm the license holder for the CVOR. So I want to know how the CVOR 100% works. I mean, Bernie fills me in pretty well, but he has some concerns and some issues, basically with the training that's not occurred with the staff. So we're setting up some training for all of the staff that fill out the CVOR, so they're doing it properly, correctly to keep us compliant. I'm also setting up training for all managers. So Ken Raymond, because of the fire department, Karen, because of the CVOR trucks that we have over there stickered with Parks and Rec, and then myself, Al, and Billy. Because it's our responsibility as managers to ensure that they're doing it properly. I think we all need to take that training. So that training is coming up. Some will be trained next week. So the managers are 2 days and then the staff will be a day. So that training is coming so that we are compliant with the regulations. Also, with being here and seeing some things happening, I'm working on a complete binder for call outs. So if anybody receives a call, or if it's, a one-off where Al or Billy is not available and somebody else is taking the call, which I'm trying to work in to the processes, because we shouldn't be reliant on just two people, especially with holidays, etc. Everybody should know what to do. So I'm creating a binder that's going to have every number that you're going to need to call if it's a water break, everything that you need to do if it's a sewer break, everything you need to do if there's a tree down, everything that you need to do if you, so it'll be kind of a step-by-step with our current procedures, but more our procedure, but then at like a layman's term, along with all of the contacts. So that's going to be a work in progress. It's going to take a little bit of time to get done, but I think it's important that we have that, because we should have all of our bases covered in any event of any situation. Also, one of the things that I'm noticing is that our senior staff, they're really good at doing water connections and dealing with the water breaks, but we're not really shadowing our new staff to be able to do that. So rather than Bernie, who's really good at the water, getting in the hole all the time to do that when he's our mechanic and has things to do in the shop, let's bring some of our new guys with Bernie and Al to get in to watch for the first few times and then get in and do it. So the reason I'm bringing this forward is that there may be some delays when we're doing some of the connections. It may not happen as quickly as we might like, but it's because I want to train our newer staff to be able to do this. We should all be able and have the knowledge to do that. So there may be some concerns coming out that it took a day rather than half a day to do a water line, but I'd rather take the time and train them in ideal circumstances rather than in emergencies. So those are some of the things that are happening with with Public Works along with a whole bunch of other things, but that's some of the highlights of our process changes.
Yeah, this call out thing, Katie, I think we've been talking about this for a number of years now. Used to be the phone went in rotation. If a guy was, for the weekend, such and such had it, the next weekend another guy had it, so that, one person wasn't always on call, they could enjoy their life as well. And then we're down to two people getting the phone, sometimes three, I guess, with Bernie. So I agree 100%. Everybody should be in that rotation, and everybody should know who to call, and everybody should have the chance to have that phone. If they refuse the phone for the weekend, well, that's on them. But definitely everybody should be in that rotation, and the binder is going to help out a lot. So right on. Jim, you had something.
No, you touched on it, HP.
Okay, all right. Sorry for that, Jim. I didn't want to steal your thunder.
No,
Madam Mayor, do you have anything on that one?
No.
Nothing? Okay, so anything else, Katie?
Well, we are having issues with the cemetery, so you should be aware of that.
Okay.
There's a lot of infractions on the bylaw, and it's kind of a standoff right now with Pam and some of our user groups at the cemetery.
some of our who, excuse me?
Well, I don't want to say residents because they're not residents, but
User group.
some of the families of the interned.
Well, can you
And-
elaborate a little more on that, or?
So we have a bylaw in place for specific reasons. Specifically, shrubs are not permitted. And we have a lot of old shrubs that we're not going to remove, but they're not permitted. It's highlighted in the bylaw that's provided to anyone who purchases, along with a cover sheet to just sum up what's allowed and what isn't. Fencing is not allowed. Roping off your area is not allowed. Planting gardens is not allowed. And these are all not allowed for obvious reasons. It impedes with our grass cutting. We have very limited staff with the amount of greens that we have to upkeep in this community, and plant watering, and keep our marina going, and keep arena going, and outdoor rink, and our other playgrounds. There's a lot going on for the very limited staff we have. So to have to go around flower gardens and weed them is the expectation in some cases. It's just not, it's not feasible to do that. We don't have full-time staff at the cemetery looking after the cemetery. And if everybody was planting gardens and trees and putting up, runways with solar lights and the other things that are going on, it's very hard to maintain. And then the other side of that is we're also getting complaints, concerns from people that are feeling like it's a little bit tacky or not within their taste either to have all of these things around their loved ones' site. So we're trying to address it as best we can before it hits social media, but I have a feeling it will be on social media. So I just want to give you the heads up on that.
So Katie, I think we have a bylaw that says you're allowed one plant hanger on the headstone and one light near the headstone so that we don't have to cut around. Is that right?
That's correct.
So nothing else. So what are we doing? Anything new that's put in, we're taking out, and that's where we're getting the complaints?
Yes.
I would say, or when you're whippersnipping and you have those little flowers in front of the headstone and you take them out with the whippersnipper, you're going to get a complaint. And those would be, yeah, I can see that happening.
Mhm.
Well, are you addressing this, Katie? I mean, or Pam, or the individual? With the individual, are you having, individual complaints? And maybe, I don't know. I know you're going to get really ugly pushback, but on the same time, as long as we're pleasant about informing them, then it's not as bad. I don't think then when you get now two heads going at it.
So I'm drafting a informative, nicely worded email today back to the resident, and hopefully That answers some of the questions, but I just want you to be aware that,
Okay.
we're
Yeah,
trying to address it as best we can, but I know that we're not going to make everybody happy.
no, and I mean, there's cemeteries out there that don't allow a headstone, they don't allow a tree, they don't allow anything. It's just bare. You just mow right over it. And once a week you can put a flower in and on mowing day, they're gone. That's it. So, that I think that our bylaw is very lenient. Yeah, very lenient so that you can have a flower on the headstone and you can have one light, and Madam Mayor, you had something?
Yeah, just related to the cemetery, I had a complaint about tacky items being above the niche. And so they have also been taken down. And so you may hear complaints about that as well. But there isn't supposed to be anything on the area where loved ones' ashes are placed. So if you hear anything about that, I heard it from the other side. They didn't want anything above where they were going to be placed. And, so you can understand both sides of the equation, but nothing is supposed to be placed above the niche.
No. All right. Okay. Is that it for the time being? Everybody good with that? All right. So we're going to adjourn at 9:46 a.m. and I'm going to see everybody again in 14 minutes.